welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be attempting something that I've never done before, which is glass painting. So, funny story how I got this glass. So it comes in this, like, pretty crappy frame. You know, just a little bit of, this is probably fake wood, with some cardboard back, and the glass fits in between those, obviously. Well, I got those from, like, a white elephant exchange, so obviously I got pranked. But anyways, enough about that. We're going to be turning this weird turn of events to something beautiful. So what I went ahead and did, mainly because I just wasn't at home, so that's probably why I didn't record it, I drew this crow. So first I sketched it with a pencil, and then I went over it with pen. So yes, all of this is in pen. And I made sure that with, like, every bit has some kind of gap in between all of it, so that way you can see the individual pieces, you know, like the two different branches separating off, the toes you can see here, as well as the individual feathers on the wing, and a little bit on the tail as well. So that way you can actually see the crow in, like, all of its pieces, and it's not just like a silhouette. Which I am honestly, this is probably one of the proudest things I've ever drawn, and I've absolutely shown it to everybody. So as you can see, it's just a very simple drawing of a crow on a tree branch, and then I drew a circle, kind of like a red moon or something, just to kind of give it something more. Mainly because, like, yes, it took up most of the page, so I wasn't worried about that, but just like some color transition, because all of this was just black and white. So I thought of, like, having a single color to make it pop, and honestly it does. It's beautiful, and that's exactly what I got. So this here is actual glass paint. It's made for glass, yes, it's just red glass paint. And then this here is paint that's made for multiple surfaces, so it might not be the best on glass, but it's a lot better than acrylic. I'll tell you that, because that's just gonna, like, streak, and then whenever you try and put another layer on it, you're just gonna scrape it off, because there's no texture on glass. That's why only, like, a few geckos with, like, suction fingers can climb on them. So that's what I'm gonna be attempting. And of course, I've seen glass paint, but most of the time it's, like, with anime characters, so I'm not an anime person, so that immediately, like, throws me out of the park. So I'm just gonna do something very simple with this, like, just straightforward design. Another part of the reason why I did that is also because with glass paint, it's not like normal painting with, like, acrylic or watercolor, where you first start off with, like, the base color and then you work layers up. It is in fact the opposite. See, what's supposed to happen is that you paint and then you flip it over, and then, like, the backwards layers show up. So you're first supposed to start off with, like, highlights and shadows first, and then work your way to the base coat, so you're basically working backwards, because the idea is that you paint it and then you flip it over and it comes together nicely, because, like, it'll be smoother on the back than on the side that you painted on, because, you know, it'd be gloopy and thick. So hopefully that works out with this paint. I don't have to, like, hacky-dacky around with it. I don't know. So hopefully that is what's going to happen with these paints. Now, what am I going to do is basically just grab a tiny brush and start just, like, painting all the parts that are black and red. So this is kind of the whole purpose of why I drew it, so that way I can just trace it, basically. Oh, got him. So what I'm going to do is tape this down with some of my fancy tapes, because they're all kind of puny. They're not very strong, so I'll just patch them down with like something like this or whatnot. Because these little washi tapes are just, they're weak. If you've ever messed with them, they're weak. You start opening up your pages and they start peeling out. They're weak. But somehow, I still managed to keep them. So I'm going to tape this down so that it kind of stays in place. And then paint it. Nothing more to say from that, except that I'm also going to try and keep it to where it's just one layer, and I'm not going to try and do like coats, because again, I haven't really worked with these colors or these type of paint, so I don't know how sensitive it is to being scraped off like acrylic. Okay, now you can see me in action. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, so I got the first coat done, both with the black and the red, and let it dry. I also went ahead and took off the tape so that I could flip it over and see how it actually looks. So we can compare both the black and white. Alright, right off the bat, this thing definitely needs a second coat. So, let's take you in for a closer look, shall we? As you can see here, you'd see like all the marks and whatnot. That definitely needs a second and maybe even third coat. So, I guess we're going to have to figure out real quick if that works or not. But I just want to take a really close look at the feathers to see how they look. Because, like, a little bit here, it's a little bumpy. Like, yeah, it looks pretty good. The eye, I was really worried about the eye being really bumpy. But honestly, it looks pretty fine. So, since I already have, like, the base coat down, or, like, the first coat, I kind of don't really need this drawing anymore because, like, it's already there right there. I just gotta redo it, basically. So I think this is gonna work, like, flipping it over. So, it's obviously a little weird looking at it backwards because, like, I've been looking at it for so long this way. So, I also gotta remember that the paint's on this side so I don't accidentally start painting on both sides. Oh god, that'd be terrible. But I'm also kind of curious how easy this is to scrape off. Actually, not really. Well, maybe a little bit, but that actually sticks a lot better than the acrylic. So I'm definitely thinking that like a second coat will definitely help with this sticking onto the glass better. So now that you know what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be speeding this process up so you can see it in action. Without further ado, let's go. And with that, I'm finally done. So I went ahead and already flipped it over so you can see it's what it looks like if it was put into the frame. We'll get a better look at it since there's some glare. So as you see here, nice solid colors. Very beautiful looking. This took about 3 to 4 coats of paint to get the solid color for both the black and the red. So it's a bit unusual for me because I honestly thought it would be really thick. But it was in fact very watery type. But at least it didn't scrape off. Now, there is a little problem with this type of paints that I used. Both like this glass paint and like this gloss element thing. If it's just like a solid sheet of glass, like there's nothing behind it, there's no color or anything, like it looks terrible. Because you can see, like, when the light goes through it, you can see it looks unfinished. Especially like at the moon. Look at that. It's bad looking, but as soon as it has like some kind of background, it looks solid. So that's what I'm doing. I have just like a normal copy sheet of paper that I'm just going to be putting in the frame. Which we'll go ahead and put it together right now. So first we have the glass. We'll flip it over. Just go ahead and slide it in there. We'll have the sheet of paper, which might fit. Ooh, it does. Nice and snug. Barely. It's a little big. Just a hair. And then we have the back. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and also, like, on the paper, I'm going to write my initials in, like, silver or something that really stands out nice and pretty. But there you go. That's the finished art here. Isn't it nice and pretty? So thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!